Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco. Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here once again. I am I am here t- to review The Old Man, Season 1, Episode 7. And the reason why I am laughing is because this episode was just too funny. Uh, it's too it's really funny. It was really weird, and I guess I guess I didn't expect what was gonna happen. I guess that's something you could say. Uh, if that's a good thing. I don't know how. I don't. This episode was weird. It was weird. Weird. It was not as weird as Better Call Saul, but it was very weird because it totally felt like a mid-season finale rather than a season finale. It felt like this is a story that maybe it could have been turned into a series, but I think that the story of the book probably could have just been the first season, like a full season, like 10 plus episodes, which I guess it will be since next season you could just combine these two and maybe that'll be the book. I have no idea what the plan is with that. But it really felt like a lot of the elements were purposefully stretched out. Like there's all these different elements that are going to come into play in the future that they were teased this season, they were only introduced this season. There were a lot of things that you expected to happen in this episode and they didn't. A lot of characters who uh, they just did not really do anything, or they just kind of petered out because the plot of this episode was just more talking, more and more talking. And surprisingly, though, I thought that it was very entertaining. I was very entertained by seeing the main two actors on screen together. I thought that it was actually a decent episode in comparison to the last couple trash ones. However, at the end, they decided to do this really shitty twist. Not only that, but then they end it. And it's like, oh, we have to wait all the way till next year when it feels like we haven't even began. Because really nothing has happened this season. Nothing has happened that's that eventful. Nothing really that big. And only now in the finale were we getting somewhere. And so I really don't like how the show is now ended and that we're going to have to wait for more of whatever is coming next. Because that's another thing is that I don't really like the idea of what's coming next. I think it's stupid. It's almost like comedic. Like it could be compared to, well, okay, I will say later when we talk about the twist. Let's just say Three Men and a Blank. That's all I'll say. Like it felt like, oh wow, this is like a really high budget remake of Three Men and a Blank. Like that's how bad it is. Uh, so it starts off, and you have Karen, and it's it's really funny because Karen, you think that this whole season she's been this really bad character where she has taken a lot of the spotlight away from the main character, Agent Poontang, and she has just been a total irritants and just been a complete like just not a great character to in comparison to what she could have been, because I do like her as an actress. I just don't like her character in this show and how she was utilized this season. She made a lot of these left turn character choices where she would go from one way to another way in a split second, like she is having some sort of a mental disorder. And at the very beginning, of course, uh, Spider Freckles is kidnapped, and they are going to hand her over to uh, the Horror Lord. And I'm not gonna call him his name. I'm just gonna call everyone nicknames from now on because the nicknames are better than the character names anyway. Uh, the Horror Lord, he wants her for some reason. I think it's pretty clear why. And it turns out too that that guy this season at one point who was like a character, the one who was like really uh he's nosy, and then he started to have a really cringeworthy romance with Spider Freckles. Well, it turns out that Mr. Nosy and the hitmen, they have taken her. They are the ones who kidnapped her, so because they're the Horror Lord's bitches. I don't understand all these people who are just like they're just such little uh they're like his minions. And like why would you ever if it, why would you ever be the minion to a whore lord? Like it's just the stupidest thing. They don't have any motivation whatsoever other than they just want to get things done or something. Like they just want to get their missions done. It's really weird. Like they could have at least had some shoehorned in stories where their families were being held hostage or something. Something to make you understand why they're traitors to their own country. Uh, I don't think that's much to ask for, personally. So they took her, and right off the bat, they they want to make a deal with John Lithgow. And meanwhile, Jeff Bridge, Agent Poontang, is talking to Karen, and she's talking about how she saw something in the lawyer's face, and the lawyer doesn't like the Horror Lord, actually. And that's something that, it's like this red herring. Like, it's something that never comes into play. And it's like, oh, is that going to come into play in the future? Is she going to overthrow the Horror Lord and help the daughter escape? Like, just, ugh. Uh, oh, wait, I just gave away the ending. Shit. Fuck. Well, immediately, Agent Poontang wishes Karen to go away. Like, he just, after this whole fucking season of dragging her around the world, and like he practically just shoved her in the trunk and just like took her across the world like a doll, like a rag doll. After all that, after training her how to become a spy, and then she doesn't even do it right, and after all this stuff with her, after all that he's been through with her as a character, she's just thrown by the wayside, and she goes home. I mean, I'm not kidding, guys. Like, you guys thought that she, like me, you guys thought that she was a problem in the show. She goes home. She literally just gets sent home uh, by all the characters. And it was almost like they watched my reviews before they made this episode, which I know that they didn't. But it was so funny because it's like, that's what all of us wanted. Like, literally, I think 90% of everyone who watched this show, they all wanted her to go home. And so that was really satisfying. Excuse me, sorry. So we started off on a good note. It was a confusing note because it felt so anticlimactic. Like, even though I didn't like her character, I would have liked for her to at least played some part in the finale, if you could even call this a finale, because that's another thing, is that this didn't feel like a finale. This just felt like a mid-season episode. Like, it didn't feel like a conclusion to this season and the start of a beginning of a next season. It was another thing where they're teasing you, they're teasing you, but they're never really giving you the full thing. They're never giving you the real thing. It's really kind of shitty the way that they tease you in the show because they have all these great actors, they have this really good budget, they have these great locations, and they're all wasted for this shitty romance family story. Really weird. So for the rest of the episode, practically, John Lithgow and Jeff Bridges, Agent Poontang, they go on a road trip together in the Middle East. And they just keep on turning around, changing their mind. Oh no, we got to go that way. And then they change their mind, they reverse. We got to go that way actually. And like that's the whole episode is just these guys driving around uh and like playing carpool karaoke with each other. Like it's really it's like what like what was the what was the point of this episode? Like basically the whole point of this episode was to have as little as possible happen. And the only thing that really happens is that we see more backstory. Like so all of the actors, that's what I think is what happened is the writers said, "Okay, this episode we need to reveal the stupid backstory stuff. So let's just have the characters drive around in circles." It was kind of like if you guys have ever seen The Walking Dead, which I wouldn't. Well, I would recommend that over this show. Fortunately, that show is way better than this. Just if you add up all the good episodes, since they have more episodes as well per season, way better. Even though it's pretty bad as well. There was the finale of season 6 of Walking Dead, and I stopped watching the seasons before season 7, and I wanted to watch season 7 for Negan. And so I watched the finale of season 6, and in that finale, they do the same thing that they do in this episode of The Old Man, where they're just driving and driving, and then they turn around. Oh no, we can't go that way. And then they turn around and they go another way. Oh no, we can't go that way. And that's the whole episode until the very end where they get trapped by Negan. And actually, I will say The Walking Dead was much better. And, ew. Why is LinkedIn sending me notifications and asking me who I know? I don't know that person. Well, fuck off, LinkedIn. Uh, so, at least The Walking Dead was better because the whole point of that was that they were being trapped. And so it was like a giant, like, maze that they were never going to escape from. And so it was actually kind of terrifying because these characters were trapped by like all these people who are trapping them in there so that they can kill them. I mean, that's pretty scary, don't you think? Whereas with this, they're just like just driving and driving, and then John Lithgow is like, "She's my kid too. God damn it, she's mine." And then Agent Poontang is like, no, she's not, man. And John Lithgow's like, "Yes, she is. She's mine. I don't care." And it's like, why am I watching? Like, this is, like, not the old man anymore. This is the old men arguing in a car. Like, I am literally just sitting here, me, a 23-year-old man, sitting here watching a television show where you have these two old men and they're just sitting there bickering in a car and they're like, "No, she's mine. No, she's mine. How dare you? You can't. You tell me. You everything you did me." It's like, what are they gonna fight over the fucking last lifesaver in the package? Like, is that what's going to happen next? Are they going to are they going to ask each other to read the weather report or something? Like, what's going to it's just it's ridiculous. It's like, what is going on here? This is the finale of an action show, and the only action is with a side character, and we'll get to the action, the minimal action. They did try to do some action, and it was okay. It was just it wasn't shot very well. It wasn't very cool. Like it wasn't very effective. It was just really like play by the by the numbers, paint by numbers, whatever you call it. What did I say? Play by the numbers. You guys see how weirded out I am by this episode. I'm just totally screwed up in the head right now. Uh, so what else happens in this episode? And then surprisingly, to no one's surprise, the Horror Lord, he changes his mind, and he says, "What the hell? I don't really want Agent Poontang. I want his daughter, uh, Spider Freckles, because I want to study her invisible limbs." And so he sends his own goons to go there themselves and get her. And then there's this really hilarious plot where you thought you're done watching the old men talk for hours and hours. Well, then you get to see Mr. Nosy guy and the hitmen talk for like 5 hours, and all of a sudden, like he's kidnapped this woman, and he says, uh, he sounds like a crazy like stalker boyfriend type of person, because he's like talking about how like he likes her and all this shit, and it's like, bro, you kidnapped her, and you're holding her hostage so that you can hand her over to a whore lord. I mean, come on, like there's only so much that I can take with this sappy melodrama. I mean, this is just it's too dramatic. It's too much talking, not enough story, not enough action. And when you just say the same things over and over again, it's not effective either. Like, that's another thing, too, that I haven't really talked about, is that with a lot of these dialogue scenes, one of the reasons why they're not good is because the characters repeatedly say the same lines over and over again to each other, as if they're too retarded to comprehend what they said the first times. So they just repeat the same phrases over and over. So they have Dembe Light, and I'm saying Dembe Light because the main hitman, he has been very low key in this season, but as soon as he started doing action scenes, he re- for some reason he reminded me a lot of Dembe and the Blacklist, and it turns out he was on the Blacklist for an episode, and he seems like an enforcer type in this particular episode. I got more of an enforcer type than a hitman type. And he does this little action sequence where he's like killing people, and then he runs across the road, and that was pretty hilarious. Like he's taking cover, and he's just like casually running across the road while people are shooting at him, and they're so bad that like none of them even like come close to hitting him. In fact, it was almost like they only shot at the cover. Like they only shot at the car and then the other car that was just parked there, and they weren't really aiming at him cuz he was just so easily able to casually run across the road. And while Dembe is being the distraction, they go off and take her. They take Spider Freckles in the van. And then the funniest thing of the whole show happens when there's this old lady. An old lady. A random old lady. And you think, oh, it's just some old lady with dementia. and she's just like standing in the middle of the road, and it's like, this seems like something that would happen on this weird show. But then it turns out she's one of the Horror Lord's minions, and she pulls out a gun and shoots Mr. Nosy. I guess she shoots him to death. It's not really explained for sure. And then they end up taking Spider Freckles and giving her to the old man out of all the millions of old men on the show, the Horror Lord. So the little teaser for next season is just that he has her, and that probably he wants to groom her into being his replacement. And so then now we're going to have this drama between three dads, and which one is going to win her love. This weird shit, this 3 Men and a Baby bullshit. I mean, guys, I already watched 3 Men and a Baby earlier this year for what was I doing? What gimmick was that for? What shitty gimmick was 3 Men and a Baby for? I can't even remember because it was just so trash and so mediocre. Oh God, I never want to watch that movie again. That's the movie. That's what this is. It's just not funny though. Like it's not slapstick, funny comedy that like they did in that movie. At least there's none of that in this. It's just all melodrama and sap and sadness and shitty action that it really isn't. It's not high stakes action. It's not very well shot. It doesn't look very exciting in terms of, you don't really feel that this character of Dembe Light, you never felt that he was in any danger. You knew that he's gonna be able to shoot his way out, and that they're gonna make the escape, and then oh no, that one little thing at the end I did like though with the old lady. I thought that was pretty cool because she just pulled out her gun and boom. And I thought like, oh, that was actually pretty good. And there was a lot of things like that in this episode that I thought worked well, which was sad because then everything else sucked, including the big twist, which is that they show more backstory with Agent Poontang and Miss Belvedere, and they sh- they show they show more backstory with them, and it's revealed that Agent Poontang, he was never ever cool enough to score with Miss Belvedere. Miss Belvedere already had a child with the Horror Lord, and the child that she had with him is his baby. And so this whole time we thought that it was Agent Poontang's child, but really it's the Horror Lord's child. And that is just the stupidest twist of all time. I mean, you took away the power of the audience, number one, because we thought that we knew something that the villain didn't know, which would have been so much more interesting, by the way. And number two, like, it changes the entire show. Like, it changes the entire perspective. They even imply that, like, Agent Poontang, he's not even, like, in love with Miss Belvedere, which weren't they married? Like, what the fuck? Like, just, what? Why'd you have to do that? Like, just, why? Why? Please tell me that you guys did that and that was not in the book, because ew. 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 I mean, you guys, Agent Poontang, he was trash in this episode too. Like, he didn't do anything. It's the finale. It's the finale, and all he did was talk to people. Again. Like, I'm sorry, I'm just so sick of these characters, and the only actions that they ever do is talk to people. I mean, you had John Lithgow, you have Jeff Bridges, and they're just sitting around talking to people. And And even with like the female characters, you thought that they were going to play some big part in the finale since they've been playing big parts the whole season. But then guess what? Both of them don't play any part in what goes on. As I said, Karen leaves, and then Spider Freckles is is just a asleep the whole episode. I mean, she sleeps, and then she wakes up, and then she's kidnapped again. So neither of them did anything the whole episode. That was another terrible decision. So not only did the female characters not really play any part, which I didn't like either of them as the season went on because they just became more and more annoying. But at the same time, they dedicated so much of the season to them that it was kind of like weird that they didn't have them play a bigger part in the finale. Uh, it was what I expected, at least. Like, at the very least, like, I expected them to do something. That's what I mean when I said this didn't feel like a finale. Because in the finale, you don't have, like, two main characters deactivate the whole episode. And the biggest fuck you of the show was the backstory stuff. Because they show Miss Belvedere and she. And the reason why I say Miss Belvedere, if you guys don't get it, I guess there was a show in the olden days, in one of the olden days, called Mr. Belvedere, and it's pretty. And the character in this show, I don't understand what name they called her, and I'm too lazy to look it up, and so I'm just gonna call her Miss Belvedere, because that's kind of what it sounded like to me. Uh, but in the backstory, they reveal that Miss Belvedere is the real reason that the Whore Lord is successful in the first place, which we knew that she was his most trusted advisor, and we knew that like she was his powerful right hand, but they just had to go and do the feminazi thing where she's the entire reason that he's who he is, and that the only reason he's in power is because she manipulated just the guy that she chose into being in power. So basically, she's the whole brains of the operation, as expected, and she could have chosen any guy, but she just chose that guy, the Whore Lord. So that was a terrible decision as well. So those two big backstory decisions, they were terrible decisions, and they were terrible ideas, and they really made for a stupid finale because they treat them like these big revelations when really they're just these stupid ideas that they threw out there. Like, I'm sorry, I don't even care. Like, this is a finale, and what I cared about was like this action packed episode where they're trying to save that girl from being taken and sent to him. Oh. And then they show him finally at the end. And it's almost like a reversal where finally you get to see his perspective and you see, oh shit, Miss Belvedere was actually pretty bad. She took away his child, and she probably never even loved Agent Poontang, and basically she's just a manipulative psychopath, and she just uses people, or I mean sociopath, and she just uses guys to get what she wants. Like, ew. And so they ruined her character as well. So they really did a lot of destruction in this episode. Instead of like doing a good finale, they just destroyed a lot of story and a lot of characters. And then they had this hilarious part too where you guys know how I've been calling Spider Freckles that because they made this weird deal about someone calling her that. Well, they go in depth talking about that this episode, and then they even have a nightmare sequence where her Miss Belvedere, her mom, calls her that, uh, and it's just like this show is just a complete cartoon at this point. I would give this episode. It's too bad because without the bad stuff, there was a lot of great stuff, a lot of great acting, especially from John Lithgow. I would have given this episode a B, but because of those stupid twists and because of the lack of finality, because that's what a finale is it's final. Like, not in terms of like I don't want another season, but in terms of when you do a finale, you finish a story and you start a new one. All this finale did was finish the story of one episode and set up the story of another episode. Okay? Like, do you guys know what I mean by the difference? Like, there wasn't a finality to this season other than, oh wow, so this whole facade, this whole image that we've had of this beloved Belvedere character, that character is now destroyed. And now we don't even care about her anymore. Uh, and she's trash. Her daughter is useless. Karen is useless. Agent Poontang is useless. He took down a car. That was something that was cool. John Lithgow is fine. His character is fine. But these characters, they're really not that strong characters as I would think that they would be in a fucking finale. So anyways, please like this video and comment and tell me what you thought of the Old Man finale. And then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see me review The Old Man Season 2. Goodbye everybody, see you soon.